Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more of the Great War. This time onto week 132. Germany resumes unrestricted submarine warfare. I thought they'd been doing that. I thought like 3 episodes ago we were told that they were doing that again. I guess it's official now. I don't know. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you joined the Discord and followed me over at Twitch. Okay. Germany resumes unrestricted submarine war. Yeah, I gotta make a complaint about YouTube real quick. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I feel like in these videos, not too many people watch, so I feel like I can get away with it in these kinds of videos because I don't have to be, I don't have to get straight to the video like overly sarcastic productions videos. I can't have too long of intros, even though I do anyway. Anyways, I gotta complain about YouTube here. I've been doing great, like on a day-to-day basis, like my daily uploads, right? My day-to-day uploads, the new videos that come out every day, those have been doing fantastic analytically. They do better in their 24-hour first 24-hour views compared to my previous 10 uploads. They hit the click-through rate. They do average or above average for my channel, and the watch time is average or above average as well. So YouTube, why the fuck am I not getting recommended? I'm even having engagement. Like the video where I announced my plan, like my plan, the title of my book that I've been working on for the last few months. That video has crazy levels of engagement, crazy good watch time, crazy good click-through rate, but it's still sitting at around like 1,000 views. It's like YouTube, put recommend me to people. God damn it! I'm doing all that I can. It's there's nothing more that I can do because it's all you now. It's all YouTube screwing me over. Anyways, let's watch the Great War, week 132.
There have been new offensives, new weapons and tactics from each nation this war trying to hasten it to a successful conclusion.
More death.
Some of those
Yay.
you know are going to have serious repercussions, and one of those happens this week as Germany goes all in and declares unrestricted submarine warfare. I'm Indy.
Unrestricted submarine warfare really isn't that bad of an idea. However, what we see with both the submarine warfare in World War One and World War Two is that it kind of just quickly gets countered, right? Because it's not. You just get like I think we watched a video on. I can't remember who the YouTuber was. Was it a potential history video that talked about the total tons sunk by Germany in I think both wars or just one of them? That they didn't really amount to anything even at their peak. Like they sunk a lot, but there was also so much being shipped over that the amount they sunk wasn't really that much in terms of the totality of what's being shipped in the week or month. Can't remember what YouTuber made that video, but I remember reacting to it. It was a good video. Anyways,
Idel, welcome to the Great War. Last week, the Greek
God, I love this
government
map.
formally
keep fucking saying
apologized
it.
to the Allies for a December attack, though there was
I just love it when maps are easy to be read and understood. Lines like this just makes the war so easy. And the shading, well, the shading doesn't do a good job of telling you which countries are occupied. I think they could have done a better job at designating like occupied countries, occupied land. But then again, you get into the question of Germany owns part of Poland before the war starts, so would that count as occupied land? And well, you get into those kinds of questions. And of course, that's a bit that's a bit harder to say. I would lean towards yes, it is occupied land of a sovereign people, but
Was a political double game going on. The French had set their huge 1917 offensive for April the 1st. There was fighting in Arabia and German East Africa, and the HMS L'Atlantic was mined and sunk off the Irish coast. A lot more to do with the sea followed this week. On January 31st, Germany says that British hospital ship traffic between Britain, France, and Belgium would no longer be tolerated. They claimed that hospital ships had been misused for the transport of troops and munitions. It's a bit tough to take their word on this since they have the right to search hospital ships, but have yet to do so one single time. This becomes a side note the following day as the Germans reintroduced unrestricted submarine warfare. There was no serious opposition to this plan in the government or from the public. Germany was expanding its military culture anyhow. The Hindenburg program of remobilizing and re-equipping the army, which I mentioned a few months ago, made all males between 16 and 60 liable for war-related work, and output was rapidly increasing. There was the danger that unrestricted sub-warfare would bring the USA into the war, sure. American trade with Britain was enormous, and a big chunk of the American economy kind of depended upon it.
yeah. And it's not like America was kind of playing favorites. I mean, they kind of were just because uh the British were you know, more democratic at this point in time. They still had does the monarchy have much power at this time? Or like early 20, like the monarchy, British monarchy, and where they lose their power, it always confuses me. Anyways, uh like let's be real. If the British weren't blockading Germany, we all know the USA would be selling guns to both sides here in equal amount. Whoever paid the most would be getting the more guns, right? Like, it's just a shame that the British were blockading the Germans.
What would happen to that?
If it were reversed, if the Germans had this naval power, had control of the seas, and they were blockading Britain, all the trade that goes to Britain would be going to Germany instead. Like, that's just how the USA rolls, baby.
Economy if American trade were cut off by sinkings, with the drowning of American civilians. That's a real good cause for war, you know. Still, German high command figured this was the only way to swiftly win the war, and cutting off British imports would make Britain suffer the same turnip winter of starvation Germany was currently suffering. There were a couple of problems with this. First, international law forbade sinking civilian ships without warning, and basic humanity said you should give people a chance to get to the lifeboats. This was now dismissed by German Naval Command as Humanitätsduselei. Germany believed Britain was trying to starve them anyhow. They also believed, with a fair amount of truth, that the USA as a neutral state had disproportionately helped the Allies, giving them...
I mean, they're not wrong, but also, like I just said, Germany, you're blockaded. The USA can't trade with you, even though it wants to. Like, there's no denying the USA would trade. It's just they can't.
them the credit that it held up the value of the pound and kept the French war economy running. And a lot of them believed that even if the USA did intervene, it wouldn't make much difference. The US had ships, but barely any army, and that would have to be trained. So if the war was won in 1917, US intervention wouldn't make much difference. But were there enough subs to starve Britain? The German Navy had called in two well-known economists from Berlin University, Max Ziering and Gustav Schmoller, who opined that the British economy would indeed collapse, especially...
They're just saying that. they're just yes men.
when you added Zeppelin bombings of grain depots in British ports into the mix. German
No.
Naval Chief of Staff Henning von Holzendorf said he could cut British shipping in half, sinking 600,000 tons a month, and that there would soon be food riots in Britain. German Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann-Hollweg, who I've said before had been against this plan, was very skeptical. For starters, his advisor and Secretary of the Interior, Karl Helfferich, was good with numbers and said that the Navy's numbers were just a fabrication. But for a German public that was living on rat sausage and turnips, there wasn't any way he could effectively object. On February 1st, 1917, the zone around the British Isles and western France was now subject to sinking on sight. Holzendorf had 105 submarines under his command with more under construction, and now he let them ride. In a twist of irony, the very next day, Istanbul University, which is now Istanbul University, proposed Kaiser Wilhelm as recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. The Germans weren't the only ones active at sea, though. On the 2nd, the British bombed Bruges harbor, and that same day, off the Anatolian coast, Russian warships sank 18 small Turkish vessels. But what about the Russian army? Back in November at the Chantilly Conference, Britain and France had decided to go on the offensive again in 1917, even possibly as early as February. They had planned to convince Italy and Russia to attack at the same time. At the beginning of February, a conference in Petrograd addressed this issue. The main problem was supplying guns and ammunition, since the performance of the Russian railways had deteriorated. There was also the question of whether Russia would be even capable of attacking. Reports were growing stronger of a looming revolution. By now in Russia, war weariness called into question the continuation of the war. In 1914, there had been 183 strikes, most of them for economic reasons. In 1916, that number had risen to 2,306, with 1.7 million participants. And in just the first few weeks of 1917, there were 751 strikes, and of those, 412 had a political background. The situation grew worse each day. As for British and French attacks happening in February, there were a few this week, though a large offensive wasn't planned until April 1st. In the west, on January 27th, the British took German positions and 350 prisoners near Transloy. On the 30th, south of Laintrey in Lorraine, French raiders penetrated to the German second line, destroying the garrison and taking prisoners. On the 31st, the total German prisoners taken by British and French in January was listed as 1,228, including 27 officers. There were no major offensives at all going on, actually, but the war was business as usual. In the Bukovina, the Russians took enemy positions between Kimpolung, today Kampulung Moldovanesk, and Yakobeni, the 29th, taking 1,218 prisoners. The next day, to the east of Yakobeni, they captured hill fortifications and over 1,000 prisoners. Far to the north on the Riga front, a German attack on the 30th between Tyrol Swamp and the river A was successful and took 900 Russian prisoners. On February 1st, on the Italian front, on the northern slopes of Monte Maso, along the Posina Torrent and in the Astico Valley, Italian patrols destroyed Austrian outposts, taking a dozen or so prisoners, while over in Mesopotamia on the Tigris, the British advance on Kut al-Amara continued, taking all but the last line of Turkish defenses east of the Tigris-Shat al-Hai junction. The Macedonian front remained quiet, as it had for weeks, because of winter. There were, of course, skirmishes, but with negligible results. The terrain was somewhat similar to that in France, and the front lines became somewhat similar as well. Deeply entrenched and unable to drive the other back.
Is this man chilling inside of a tree stump? Huh.
The Serbian capital, though, had been re-established in Monastir. If you look at the last 6 months there, you can see that Maurice Sarrail, commander-in-chief, had been a real disappointment to the Allies. All of the fighting and dying had yielded Monastir and not much else. Militarily, the Bulgarians held their own on defense with forces very much inferior to the Allies in numbers, showing once again the advantages of playing defense and the abilities of the Bulgarians. And the week comes to an end with small actions on many fronts. The Allied flags formally saluted in Athens, and on the 27th in Petrograd, Nikolai Pokrovsky resigned as Russian foreign minister. He had been minister only 2 months, and unlike his predecessor Boris Sturmer, he was very much in favor of continuing the war to its conclusion, and was trying to work out a way to bring American capital to Russia to kickstart the Russian economy. He actively
Might be a little late to kickstart the Russian economy. You're 3 years into the war, bud. It's a little late.
asked for the whole government to resign. It was that messed up. Total spoiler here, he would be the last foreign minister of the Russian Empire.
Dun dun dun. Spoilers, come on. You're telling me the Russian Empire is gonna fall, dude? Nah. Oh wait, we're in fucking February. Oh shit.
Norman Stone in World War I writes, "Great wars develop a momentum of their own." And you know, back in 1914, leaders did think that war could be turned on and off if several leaders had wanted to do so. But by now, the complete hatred of the enemy, the enormous loss of life, conscription, and a
Yeah, now they just feel like they can't. They've killed so many people. They're like, well, we can't just like end it now. We just, I forgot what I was saying. My dog's interrupted me.
above all, the overwhelming voice of public opinion that just could not be ignored pretty much precluded any leader trying to end the war and saying it was just a big mistake. Heck, there were several leaders who would have liked having this option, but by January 1917, you had new radical leaders offering various knockout blows. In France, you had Robert Nivelle, who had replaced Joseph Joffre last month as commander-in-chief. He promised to win the war with new infantry methods and meticulous creeping barrages. German high command recognized stalemate in the West, but hey, submarines to starve out Great Britain, why not? Germany was starving, why not Britain as well? There is not a trace of compassion to be found in modern war.
Nope.
The British would not sit idly by and watch the submarines sink their ships.
And that was Germany resumes unrestricted submarine warfare. Great War Week 132. This was a good episode. I feel like I had plenty to say this one. I don't know, maybe I was just energetic today. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.